Verstappen lunges him up the inside of quite a fast left-hand follow-through in a way that was nowhere near making the corner. This was just a lunge for the century. He knew what he was doing. It kind of, to me, looked like Verstappen was just trying to scare Norris, like intentionally just trying to like shit him up a bit would be the technical term for that. Just to reinforce the facts, like, don't fight me. Because, let's say somehow they get to Abu Dhabi and they're like level on points and it comes down to a fight at the end. You want your opponent to be scared of you. You want your opponent to hesitate before they make a move. And so stuff like that gives Norris these memories, and it will make him hesitate. Well, it would make a normal person hesitate. Obviously, Lando Norris would be working with performance coaches and mentality coaches. Any top athlete would. So they might be able to get these things out of his reactions. But the shitting them up is a quite common tactic and a quite well-known tactic in any kind of like proper sport. You got to psych people out, let's say. That very much seemed to be what Verstappen was going for. And also, I would imagine what Verstappen was going for was, going into this race, Verstappen was leading Norris by 57 championship points. If they both ended up retiring from this race, well, that benefits Max Verstappen, doesn't it? Because then Max Verstappen would still be ahead of Norris by 57 championship points, with fewer races to go. So if Max Verstappen makes a send on Lando Norris and gives him a 50-50, like give me the place or crash, well, that's a win-win for Max Verstappen because either he gets the place or they both crash, and then he maintains his 57-point lead. So you may as well. Max Verstappen has such a lead that he may as well. He can do this twice before Charles Leclerc is even then in some discussion for, winning the championship. So Max Verstappen can keep doing this. He can keep making these crazy sends on Norris because if they happen to collide and they both lose a wheel, well, that's just good for Max Verstappen. So, is it good to see? Perhaps not. I know I said I like to see tough racing, but I like to see, scrappiness from cars side by side and trying moves. I don't want to see a send from 3 car lengths back at 150, which is likely to, shred someone's legs off. That I don't want to see. Please don't do that. And that is what Verstappen did. This whole sequence of events, which was all on a single lap, the stewards did not take kindly to. As I said, from a game theory point of view, Max Verstappen is so far ahead in the Drivers' Championship that he may as well do this, which kind of raises the question, do the actual penalties given need to be reviewed? Like, in theory, and this is not true, mind you, but the stewards would always say that penalties are given regardless of who did it, regardless of championship consequences, regardless of, driver points or status in the sport, etc., etc. That is not true. They definitely look at fights for the lead differently to fights at the back of the grid. Anyway, should penalties be given out differently if it's, to number 1 and number 2 in the Drivers' Championship? It makes me think back to Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve in 1997, when Michael Schumacher was disqualified from the Drivers' Championship for making, a bad move. In that case, Schumacher turned into Jacques Villeneuve, which is more egregious than anything Max has done. But the way I look at it, it's only really one step removed. Like, Schumacher drove into a car, but Max Verstappen is driving into positions on the track that he knows are forcing other cars to take evading action. So he's not driving into a car, but he's driving into a space that is soon to be occupied by a car. It's really not that different. And as I said, from a game theory point of view, Max Verstappen may as well do this every single race from now until the season finale. Like, he actually finished the race P6, which nets him 8 points, and Lando Norris went on to get P2 and get 18 points. And I'll talk about it more in Championship Watch, but actually that 10-point swing is actually in Verstappen's, it's in Norris's favour, but that's still good for Verstappen. Norris needed an 11.4 swing per race, And so if Verstappen does this and gets like a 20 or 30-second penalty and finishes P6 or P7, that's still enough. He's still going to win the championship, and so he may as well just do this. Like, this is probably the worst case outcome. He might do this next weekend and get less of a penalty and still finish like P3. So he may as well do this. As I said, if they end up both retiring, that's excellent for Verstappen. And Verstappen knows this. Like, no fault to him for just understanding the game that he is playing. It's pure game theory, but do we want that? Do we want the sport to come down to this? And so it makes me think, should the penalties handed out for these kinds of situations change if it's between two championship rivals? Otherwise, Max Verstappen's just going to keep doing this. Does he need to start getting like a championship points penalty, or I want to say maybe not race disqualifications, but like much bigger penalties, like a stop-go, that kind of thing, because the risk is worth the reward currently. That's basically how it is. And so until anything changes, this is gonna keep happening. Like, it will happen again, mark my words.